What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about if Insomniac's multiplayer game has been canceled. And this kind of came out of left field. Everybody's talking about the leaks, talking about all the stuff that came out, the hack. And what I want to try to do here is continue what I've been saying and what I've been doing with these past videos. I don't want to make it so much about the hack or the leak itself. This one is a little bit different because it's not even necessarily that. I want to talk about kind of a bigger story, make it a bigger thing than just focusing on the leak, right? Just my own kind of style of doing this. So there have been things in that hack that would suggest it's gone, that they stopped working on it. And I saw it here and there. I haven't honestly been paying too much attention to that element. I know there were like concept art and stuff that was, which obviously we're not going to show, and I don't even really want to talk about all that much. I didn't see all of it. I saw very little, I think, of the overall thing. But it very much seemed like there was and we talked about it a little while ago, is there a Spider-Verse multiplayer game? Is that the multiplayer game that Insomniac is working on? And the answer was, yeah, that probably is what they were doing, right? But then, when all this stuff happened, you see the roadmap of what's coming, and you may look at it and say, okay, well, there might be multiplayer elements to these games, but there is no definitive this game is only online, right? So that was something that stood out to me where it's like, well, wait, it's missing. We won't get into too many spoilers as to what's coming from Insomniac, but you look at it and you say, well, where's the multiplayer thing, right? So that's really where we were at. I would actually say up to 2 hours ago or an hour ago before I recorded this video, that's where I was at. Well, just now, I look and Jason Schreier is now talking, our good old friend Jason Schreier, which we can go on forever about that guy. But no, he has talked about his own reporting. The multiplayer game has been canned. He says it was actually canceled a while ago. I think people are saying because of, the info released through, that maybe stopped over the summer. So it actually could have been, it depends on your definition of what's a while, right? What is a long time ago or whatever you want to say. Maybe for the last half year, they have not been doing it. And by the way, the lead up to, well, Alex, were they ever making a multiplayer game? Yeah, and you don't need leaks or hacks or anything to know that. That's definitive, right? We've talked about that actually in the past, but they were hiring for a multiplayer project. So that was confirmed, right? That's from them. That's not from any nefarious means of, getting the info. Okay, so you don't have a multiplayer game. Well, let me say a few things in terms of the personal opinion. Number one, I actually don't know how I feel. I would feel more saddened about this than actually a lot of the other ones. Now, let me be clear. As we've constantly said, do I need all these teams to be making multiplayer games? No. Am I down for Sony's entire jump into the deep end of live service? No. Now, my eyes have been opened a little bit more. My eyes generally are kind of half closed at all times, but they've been opened a little bit over the last little while because, hey, the budget, we've talked about the budgets and all of this stuff. Hey, if they need money, if you need reoccurring money and live service is a way to do it, I'm not going to say I love it because I will just never. That's just my own personal, it's just how I play games, right? You don't have to agree. You don't have to play the same style of things that I do. That's totally cool. But my own personal opinion is I don't like that. But yet again, I don't need to like it. I don't need to love it. I need to understand it. You either understand it or you don't, right? So I get why Sony would want to do live service. Okay, so where am I going? Well, while I don't agree with, hey, let's do 10 of them in a 3-year span, which was the original idea, right? That's a bad idea, and I would have always said that. That doesn't seem to actually be happening anymore, which we're going to talk about. But, if you told me you were getting a Spider-Verse multiplayer thing, I actually think that would have worked. I mean, call me crazy. I think that would have worked. When you think about The Last of Us multiplayer, I think that would have. I've said that. For as much, again, of my talk about live service, I've actually always, you could fact check me, go watch my other 5,000 videos. I've talked about The Last of Us multiplayer for a long time, and I've actually always been in support of it. I think that would have worked. I think a Spider-Verse game would have worked. So it's odd. I mean, you could say, Alex, you're flip-flopping. I'm actually not. I'm actually trying to stay pretty centered in what I believed in for a while. I think that would have been a pretty cool thing, and you could have tried it. You don't have to have every studio doing it. Now, okay, well, on the flip side, is it the worst thing in the world that it's canceled? No, it's honestly not. It's a missed opportunity, maybe. Maybe it would have been amazing. Maybe it would have been, you could look amazing, you could sound amazing, but are you actually going to be, amazing, right? You don't know that. So, okay, well, you have all that. Am I okay with it? Yeah, And I guess that's what leads to this bigger thing I do want to talk about, to not just make it about Insomniac, to not just make it about like the hack and the leaks of getting it that way. What does that mean for PlayStation? Well, you know, when The Last of Us was canceled, multiplayer, right? You can go back to that video, and I had said there was a rumor, even before that, there was a rumor that Sony was backtracking on live service, okay? It came from a kind of, not sketchy and like this person's like a terrible human being, but a person that you just don't know if the leaker, you know, the person's, you know, accurate, if they're truthful, right? But there was something that came from a person that said, hey, Sony is backtracking on live service. You're going to see it in the next couple of years. Games that were going to happen are not going to happen. They reduced the amount of games that are going to release, all that jazz. That rumor happened. I made a video on it, and I had said, and I still kept saying, I don't believe it. And I don't believe it for the simple fact that I think Sony would have wanted to see these games fail before they pulled the plug. If your initiative is to go all in, and you stop that initiative before you even start it, by that I mean no game has even released yet. You want to do live service. You want to make 10 of them in a 3-year span. That was the original thing. 0 have released so far. 0. Helldivers would maybe be the first one, and I don't even know if you want to classify it as a live service. But it kind of is, it kind of isn't, whatever. None of them have released yet. Helldivers doesn't come out until February. Well, okay, well, for them to pull the plug already, that seems off like that, and that's why I didn't believe the rumor, okay? Fast forward, they cancel Last of Us multiplayer. All right, well, the rumor did say that they're canceling games. All right, well, that's one time. They did it for one game. And I actually said in that video, I need it to happen again. I need another big one to be canned to believe the rumor. I shouldn't have opened my gosh darn mouth because you know what? Weirdly enough, it's happening. Okay, so you have The Last of Us trying to do multiplayer. That was going to be one of the 10. You had Insomniac's multiplayer game. That was going to be another of the 10. There's 2 of 10 right there, right? Okay, well, now both of them, potentially. You could look at the hack. You could look at Jason Schreier. You can still take it as a rumor. You don't know. You don't know until Insomniac says, and I would absolutely accept that as an argument. Well, Alex, you don't know. You know, you're just speculating. That's fine. If you want it, that's totally okay. This is speculation. Honestly, a lot of this is. All right, well, if this game has also been canceled, that's 2. 2 out of 10 have been shut down in the last, let's say, year, because The Last was probably just happened in the last 6 months, and Spider-Man could have happened over the summer. So 2, really in half a year. 2 and half a year are done. Sony publicly has said that the initiative has been pushed. It's not 10 in 3 years anymore. Now I think it's like 4 in 3 years or 5 in 3 years. So it's less. They're actually halving it, right? So it's only going to be half the amount of games originally that are coming out in like a certain span of time. That's what they said. That is official from them. On top of the rumor that they were going to do that, plus games have been just outright canned. They're not going to, go forward with it. You know what? I kind of believe it's real. And I mean, like, I gotta put my mouth, like, I gotta go with it at this point, right? Because it's like, well, in the last video, I literally opened my mouth and I said, hey, if they do this a second time, you gotta start thinking that rumor could be true. They literally, maybe, if it's true, they did. If 2 of their big games, now these aren't from like the Fire Sprites, the Havens, right? Like those games are coming very soon, actually, like within the next couple of years. So yeah, I'm not saying like they're done with live service. They purchased teams, they backed teams, third-party teams. They backed teams for their live service games. So they're not getting out of the game entirely. But the rumor wasn't that they were doing that either. The rumor really was they're taking some steps back. They're not going to go all in like they said they were. And so far, that's true. They haven't released any yet. They have canceled potentially 2 of them. You don't know how many are coming out in any given year now. The Insomniac, roadmap is all single. I mean, yes, there's multiplayer elements sometimes in these games, but it's single player first. So I am kind of inclined to believe that Sony has decided that. Now, again, like, is that a good thing or bad thing? Well, I would have said it's overwhelmingly good like 2 weeks ago. But seeing the budgets, again, we have that talk. I'm not going to go I don't want to, repeat the same thing over and over. I already do that enough. But so you have the budgets and, okay, well, I could actually understand, like reoccurring money that's constantly coming in. I get it. I've always gotten it. I've said that, for the people that just don't understand what I have against live service. We've talked about it. But I do get, like, you want money constantly coming in. for whatever reason. And I think for Sony, it could be, hey, we want to keep doing single-player games. They're expensive. They're too expensive. We need money in case something goes wrong. If something goes wrong with one of these single-player games, they are so screwed. You can't drop $200-300 million for it to fail. It's not that big of a bubble that could pop. It's pretty small, the bubble that they're in. So I get it. I actually get it. So am I like overjoyed and like throwing a parade outside? No, I'm generally like happy about it. Like, okay, you should do what you're good at, and maybe you find another way to do live service games. On the other side, though, and to end this video, would a Spider-Man game have been cool to be live service? It could have been. It could have been. And what we've kind of heard about it, seen about it, like, yeah, it could have worked. The Last of Us could have worked. And I would be in support of both of those games. And if Sony wants to try it, they're going to try. They're not listening to my opinion on it, right? But it is interesting. Like, that's the purpose of this video. It's interesting what's happening. On one side, you have the rumor, you have all this stuff about Insomniac, but then PlayStation at large, there is clearly something going on. Clearly. And you can't deny it anymore, right? And I can't deny it. I thought that it wasn't going to happen. I thought that these games would have to come out, either perform or fail. And if they fail, then Sony would look and say, okay, we're not going to do the live service push anymore. But you need games to fail, because how would you know if you don't see the result, right? I guess I was wrong. I honestly guess I was wrong, because so far they may have seen the results in a time machine. They may have already known, what was going to happen. I don't know. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.